Y'all gotta forgive me because I'm angry at the way she was treated. I did not know all the things that she was going through. Recently, I found out because I'm not on Instagram. I'm not being hooked and manipulated by an algorithm telling me what to think and how to feel.
Well, tonight we do have some new details that are emerging about the tragic death of Grammy-nominated R&B singer Angie Stone, who died in a car accident in March.
The shocking truth behind Angie Stone's heartbreaking death has finally surfaced in a bombshell lawsuit filed by her family. The lawsuit directly names the driver of Angie's Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van.
So I don't see everything. But to think that this woman was in the business for all of these years, and there's a difference between performing because you want to and performing because you have to. All of those years, all of those songs, all of that money that was owed to her, where is it?
The trucker behind the wheel of the 18-wheeler that slammed into it, trucking giant CSR and Daimler Truck North America, the maker of that massive rig. But now the whispers are getting louder. People are claiming a strange device was planted in the van, and some even allege Tyler Perry might know way more than he's letting on.
But you gotta be careful when you start mistreating people, especially children of God, because the Bible says, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. And I'm gonna tell you something, this woman was a prophet. She prophesied and preached her own eulogy. What am I talking about? In her song, No More Rain in This Cloud, she says, my sunshine has come.
This tragedy has spiraled into something way bigger than anyone expected months after Angie's passing, and the twists keep coming. Angie's two children, Diamond Stone and Michael D'Angelo Archer, are the ones pushing for justice, and they're not backing down. According to the lawsuit, the truck driver was straight up distracted, blasting music through his headphones, and didn't even hit the brakes before the deadly crash. On top of that, the family claims the truck's high-tech collision avoidance system, the very thing that's supposed to prevent accidents like this, completely failed when it mattered most.
I looked up and there was an 18-wheeler that had crossed the median into the other, into oncoming traffic, and I knew that's what hit me and ran over, and brushed over me was the 18-wheeler. And my daughter's freaking out. She'd already called my husband by then and my father-in-law, and I just told her, we've got to get to the hospital. I can't breathe. It was so hard to breathe. I'm gonna post a video of the 18-wheeler after I left the hospital, driving back through to get to my husband and my son. I will not be posting the vehicle in the video because somebody did pass away. They did. And I won't be posting that for respect for their family.
The lawsuit points out that other drivers on the northbound highway actually managed to avoid the overturned van because they were paying attention and not speeding. The weather was clear, so there was no storm or fog to blame. This wasn't a freak accident, it was negligence, plain and simple. Court filings claim the truck driver completely failed to watch the road and drove straight into Angie Stone's disabled Sprinter van without ever touching the brakes. Even more chilling, the documents describe how Angie was trapped underneath the van, fully conscious, suffering in agony until those fatal injuries finally claimed her life.
And I'm all cried out. There's no more rain in this cloud. And many of you may not know this, but I'm a pilot, and when you are a pilot, the first thing you study is the weather. And I learned about clouds, and what a cloud is particles, air and particles. And when the rain gets in that cloud and the particles get too heavy, it becomes to rain. It drops to the ground. It falls. It is just like our souls. We hold so much in. We hold so much pain. We hold so much that it has to come out of our eyes as tears.
Now the bigger picture becomes clear. Angie was on her way back to Atlanta from Alabama when the van she was riding in flipped over, only to then get crushed by a massive 18-wheeler. Everyone else in that van survived, except Angie. The Alabama Highway Patrol confirmed in their official release that the 2021 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter overturned on a 65 at around 4:25 a.m. Saturday, March 1st. Moments later, It was struck by a 2021 Freightliner Cascadia truck, driven by a 33-year-old man out of Texas, while the Sprinter's driver and 7 other passengers managed to make it out alive. The other passengers were rushed to Baptist Medical Center for treatment, but Angie never even made it that far. She was pronounced dead right there at the scene. The lawsuit doesn't hold back either, going into disturbing detail about the gruesome aftermath and the agony Angie endured before she finally passed away. And here's the thing, even before the family filed this lawsuit, people were already raising eyebrows about how this accident went down. Reports had surfaced that Sharita Murphy, one of Regina Bell's backup singers who was also inside that van, claimed the whole tragedy could have been avoided.
But the beauty of what she was talking about is when a cloud has no more tears, it dissipates. It's gone. But if you listen to that song again, there's a part that I want you to really, really listen to. She said, what goes around comes around.
Sharita allegedly revealed chilling details about those final moments, saying the driver, Lethal Carter, was pushing the van too fast and straight up ignored Angie's desperate pleas to slow down. Angie supposedly asked him, "Why are you in such a rush at 4 in the morning?" Words that now sound haunting, knowing what happened next. Sharita claimed the driver flat out told them he needed to get to Baltimore quickly, even though Angie was the one scheduled to perform there. That's why Sharita pushed for him to face criminal charges, because if everybody in that van begged him to slow down and he refused, then in her eyes, he was responsible for the tragedy. But that's not all. Other witnesses allegedly reported hearing strange popping noises, almost like gunshots, right after the van's first crash. One witness even claimed they assisted someone, potentially Angie Stone herself, in those terrifying moments before the 18-wheeler came plowing in. Their account lined up with the 2 collision scenario investigators have mentioned, painting a picture of total chaos at the scene. And here's where things get shady. When news of Angie's death started spreading, that same person deleted the video they had posted. To a lot of people, that move seemed way too suspicious, and it only fueled more whispers that something wasn't adding up. There were even wild claims about a sniper being spotted near the crash site. And get this, after the van flipped, driver Lethal Carter allegedly made a mysterious phone call before circling back to the accident scene. To make it worse, people in the streets were saying Carter didn't even have a valid license, and Angie herself had begged him multiple times to slow down, but he completely ignored her.
A walking testimony that God has carried me all this time, because if you only knew how much money they have taken from me, how much they have stolen from me, monies that I'm supposed to be, I should have been able to retire 20 years ago with the money I've made. Supposedly. But there are key people that have been driving the ships. And what they've been doing is improperly representing me, improperly stealing from me, taking things in their own hand, changing and switching lanes because they knew I didn't know that part. See, I'm not an attorney. I don't know everything.
And let's not forget, his dirty record became public knowledge online. And honestly, this man should never have been behind the wheel in the first place. His rap sheet is a mile long. In 2002, he had parole violations. In 2003, forgery in the first degree, along with more forgery charges. And back in 2000, a misdemeanor. His driver's license had been suspended, yet he kept driving anyway. It doesn't stop there. Carter was also arrested for unlawful use of a driver's license, driving while suspended, multiple domestic violence cases, carrying a concealed weapon, possession charges, credit card theft, theft by deception, shoplifting, theft of service, burglary, and that's just part of the list. The man's past screams danger, and people can't believe he was allowed to drive Angie that night. Angie's daughter Diamond dropped another chilling detail. She said her mom truly believed there was a target on her back, and she had spoken about it several times before the fatal crash. And here's where it gets even darker. Angie had been openly calling out Universal Music Group just months before her death. She reportedly discovered that Universal had been pocketing her money for decades without her knowing. And once she realized, she set out on a mission to blow the lid off the whole thing. Angie's ties to the company ran deep. She had been signed to MCA back in 1990 as a songwriter before MCA's parent company morphed into Universal Studios Incorporated in 1966, later spinning off its powerhouse music arm, Universal Music Group. Under that system, Angie was signed to MCA Universal and even formed her R&B trio Vertical Hold under their umbrella. But then came the bombshell. Angie started speaking out about how her earnings had allegedly been misappropriated, and the industry started looking at her sideways.
A walking testimony that God has carried me all this time, because if you only knew how much money they have taken from me, how much they have stolen from me, monies that I'm supposed to be, I should have been able to retire 20 years ago with the money I've made, supposedly. But there are key people that have been driving the ships. And what they've been doing is improperly representing me, improperly stealing from me, taking things in their own hand, changing and switching lanes because they knew I didn't know that part. See, I'm not an attorney. I don't know everything.
Angie Stone's career stretched over 4 decades, but in one of her final videos, she revealed just how much she had been fighting behind the scenes. She opened up about a severe blood infection that nearly took her out and forced her to halt touring while she spent 2 weeks in intensive care. But during that quiet recovery, she uncovered something that shook her to the core: major irregularities in her finances. About 15 minutes into that same video, Angie dropped a real bombshell. She said a huge chunk of her publishing, her royalties, and her mechanicals had all been stolen by UMG. After being in the music game for over 40 years, she was left asking one haunting question: where were all her royalties going? The shocking answer? Universal had allegedly been collecting everything: her royalties, her mechanicals, her money, while she was left with nothing. Angie didn't sugarcoat it either. She called them out directly in that candid clip, exposing the betrayal in her own words. Angie made it clear she wasn't just disappointed. She felt betrayed by what she saw as straight-up negligence and deliberate financial misconduct. She openly declared that Universal would have to hand over the money she earned, and she vowed to do whatever it took to make sure her children and grandchildren got the legacy she fought for. She went even further, accusing the companies of failing to properly register her songs, and revealed that she had already been connected to several class action lawsuits over that very issue. Angie said she had a dedicated legal team digging deep into what she was owed, and she wasn't afraid to put the industry on notice. Before her passing, she even warned up-and-coming artists about the tricks and traps the business will throw at them, a chilling warning that hits differently now. With all this laid out, fans strongly believe her family has every right to keep fighting and not let this battle go cold. Angie's family insists this tragedy should never have happened, and their lawsuit makes it clear this was a disaster caused by both reckless human choices and failed trucking technology. But here's where the whispers get even louder. People are claiming someone may have actually planted a device in Angie Stone's van, a chilling allegation that has sparked major concern.
But in her song, she said, in time, it gets a little better. So my prayer for you is that time is kind to you.
That kind of claim raises serious suspicion. Was Angie dealing with something much bigger, much darker than anyone realized? It leaves fans asking who could have been behind it and what motive they might have had. And then comes Tyler Perry's connection. At Angie's memorial, he delivered a powerful eulogy that wasn't just about mourning her, it was also a fierce call out of the industry's dirty practices. Speaking before a heartbroken audience, Tyler honored Angie's life while tearing into the systemic injustices that robbed her and so many others of the money they rightfully earned. He didn't speak just as a Hollywood mogul, but as someone who has seen how the machine really works. He admitted he knew the toll it takes on artists like Angie, who gave the world timeless music, yet were denied the rewards their talent deserved. Tyler Perry's eulogy hit hard. He even brought up Angie Stone's song, $20, a haunting anthem about financial struggle, using its lyrics as a mirror to her real-life pain. He pointed out how Angie gave the world timeless music, yet still fought to survive. And he turned that moment into a metaphor for a much bigger problem. Perry reminded the audience that Angie's story wasn't rare. Countless artists, especially black musicians, have been robbed of their rightful earnings while corporations cashed in on their talent.
So if you are like her and like me, who get tired of helping people and watch them dog you out, if you are like her and like me, I'm gonna tell you this: don't stop doing good. Don't stop being kind. Be not weary in your well-doing.
But here's where the backlash exploded. Right after that tribute, Monique came out swinging. She blasted Perry for being a hypocrite, saying he condemned exploitation in public while quietly doing the same behind closed doors. Monique claimed he smeared her name, called her difficult, and blackballed her after she refused to be exploited, costing her millions of dollars. And the wildest part? She said Perry admitted in private he was wrong, even asking her about money she was owed. Monique reminded Tyler Perry that he promised her a public apology way back in 2016, one that still hasn't happened. She also slammed him for pressuring her to promote Precious without proper pay, calling on him as a man of faith to finally honor his word with real accountability. She said he holds the power to correct the wrongs that hurt her and her family, but he continues to dodge it. Now here's where the whispers take a darker turn. Some are starting to suggest that Tyler Perry might know more about Angie Stone's death than he's letting on. His emotional speech at her funeral raised eyebrows, with many pointing out that his words sounded like he was hinting at deeper truths about the battles Angie was fighting. With speculation swirling, the big question remains: will Perry ever break his silence or keep holding back what he really knows? The whispers about what Tyler Perry might truly know, combined with the shocking claims of a planted device in Angie Stone's van, have only made this tragedy even more controversial. With so many unanswered questions still hanging in the air, the Stone family's lawsuit is now demanding clarity and accountability, showing the world this fight is far from over. The truth behind these explosive allegations could soon be revealed in court, and when it does, it might change everything. But what about Tyler? Does he know more than he's admitting, or is he just caught in the crossfire? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you in the next one.